Hey guys, my name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. Because it is already the end of February. I can't believe how quickly this month went by. February was a struggle. Oh my gosh, February was such a busy month for me work-wise, and just trying to take on all of the things. It was a really long and really busy month, and I'm so glad that it's over. And in the month of February, I only read 8 books, which is pretty low for me, honestly, but I'm also kind of surprised I was able to read as much as I did with how much I had going on this month. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that, but yeah, on average, like 8 books is pretty low for me. Ratings wise, it was actually pretty decent. I did have 3 5-star books. I had 1 4-star book, 1 3-star book, and 3 2-stars. So it was a pretty mixed bag, but I am surprised that I had 3 5-star books. I read 2 thrillers, 3 romances, 2 young adult contemporaries, and 1 historical fiction this month. And then I did listen to 3 audiobooks this month. That is a little bit lower for me than usual, but I have been listening to so many podcasts this month. I've been listening to my usual Creepy Caffeine, of course, and then I've also started listening to My Favorite Murder, which I'm just like obsessed with that podcast now, and it's all I'm listening to lately. And then I also found this other podcast called Morbid, and I've also been listening to that podcast like a whole bunch. They're both like true crime related, kind of like spooky vibes related, and so yeah, I'm just obsessed with them. And I've just been getting into more and more podcasts, and also listening to a lot of great music that came out this month. I also did want to mention too, on top of the 8 books that I did read this month, I also tried to get into Little Universes. I got 60 pages into this book, and I'm absolutely loving it, but it was just a little bit too emotionally heavy for me to handle right now as far as like the content and subject matter in this book. It was just a little bit too much, but I do want to jump back into this book soon. And then same goes for The Year of the Witching. I got about 100 pages into this book, but I'm just not feeling it right now for some reason. I think it's just more of a me thing though, but I think the historical fiction aspect of this book is really just not easy to get into. I'm gonna try it again another time. Now onto the books that I did actually read this month. The first book I read this month was The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I included this book and actually like 5 of the books that I read this month in a reading vlog. So if you didn't see that, I'll have that linked down below. But I read this book for that reading vlog, and this book was so stinking cute. It's a new romance novel that just came out in January. And this one takes place in Seattle, which, you know, love that because I live in Washington. And it kind of follows these 2 radio co-hosts. So she has been working at this radio station for like 10 years, and then he is this guy, he's Korean, he's new to the station, he just graduated from college. She has this idea because like their radio show is completely failing and not doing very well. So she has this idea that they should bring on 2 exes to like have a show that's like about their relationship and to give relationship advice and like have a funny like cool show called The X Talk. But then they don't want to hire on new people because their show's already struggling, so they don't want to hire on 2 people who are already exes. So because her and this guy Dominic have such great chemistry, they're like, you guys are gonna pretend to be fake exes. So it's kind of like taking the fake dating trope, which I already love, and taking it to a different level with like fake exes. So they have to pretend that they already have dated. So it's like they have to know each other well enough to try and prove to people that they have dated before. It's like a fun play on the fake dating trope, and I just adored this book so much. I love that there's an age gap in this book and that she is the older one. That is just so rare to see in romance books. I also really adored this main character Shay. I related to her so much, and I really adored her relationship with her dad and like their love of radio together. I just thought it was a really beautiful story. I actually thought the conflict in this book was super interesting because usually in romances I hate when it's just kind of like a miscommunication issue and like ugh. But in this book I actually thought the conflict towards the end was actually really interesting, and I really understood where both of them were coming from. I had a great time. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. Next book I read that's also in that reading vlog is If I Disappear by Eliza Jane Brazier. And this one is an adult thriller novel. This one is about this girl who she loves listening to this true crime podcast, and then one day the true crime podcast host just like goes missing, and she like stops uploading to her podcast, and this girl is kind of low-key like a stalker. Like I think she's a little bit obsessed with this girl Rachel who runs the podcast. And so she goes and tries to find Rachel in real life because she knows Rachel lives on this ranch. And so she goes to the ranch and she's like trying to figure out what happened to her. And it's just like this creepy story of this girl trying to track down this other girl, but there's also this mystery of like what actually happened to Rachel. And I thought the first like 80% of this book was so good. I would have given this 4 stars easily. Like, I thought it was really great. And I loved like the ranch vibes and like how I really felt like I couldn't trust anyone, including the main character in this book. Like, it was just a really wild experience. But then I feel like this book really just drops the ball at the end. Like, the last 20%, it just gets so cringy to me and just so bad and just different and not what I expected at all, but like not in a good way. And so I ended up giving this one like 2 stars. I was kind of disappointed, but isn't this cover beautiful? Like, this cover's stunning. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Tanya from Rustic Book Reviews for sending me this book off my wish list. I appreciate you. The next book I read was Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. I actually did manage to get a hold of the audiobook from my library to read this book. I was reading this book and listening to the audiobook simultaneously. This audiobook was so well done. I would highly recommend getting your hands on the audiobook if you can. But this one, if you didn't know, it's like a prequel to The Hate U Give because it follows Star's dad from The Hate U Give when he was a teenager and when he was going to become a father as a teenager. This book is really freaking powerful. I discovered recently that I do really like young adult books that are about young adults becoming parents. I don't know, I just find it really interesting to see how teens have to grow up so quickly, and I think it's a really like sad subject matter, but it's also like something that happens every day in America, and I just think it's really interesting to read about. And I just really loved Maverick's character. There were so many points in this book where I was emotional because it was just so moving. I really love his family and it was just really great, and I loved getting more insight into like Maverick's personal life and like how he grew up and like why he is the way he is. I just thought it was really beautiful, really well done. I ended up giving this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, and I didn't give it a full 5 because I didn't love this one as much as I love The Hate U Give, but they're both really, really great, and this is a great companion novel to The Hate U Give. Next book I read was also another audiobook that I listened to this month, and it was Fat Chance Charlie Vega, and this is one that I was highly anticipating because it looks so freaking cute. This is like a young adult contemporary novel about this young girl who is just making her way through high school. This book I just thought was just okay because I feel like this book is the problem that I usually have with young adult books, is that they read so young adult to me sometimes, and I just find it difficult to connect and relate to the main character because of that. Because I feel like this book, I know it is targeted for young adults, so this is definitely like a me thing, but I feel like our main character could be so naive at times, but then also like I understand where she was coming from, and like her relationship with her mom in this book is really complicated and really tough. But overall I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I thought it was pretty average when it comes to young adult. Like, I don't know, I just didn't find anything that like stood out to me, and honestly like I read this 2.5 weeks ago now and I'm already forgetting like some of the plot, so it was just okay for me. The next book I read was The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren, and this is one that I had such high hopes for because, you know, it's Christina Lauren, they're one of my favorite romance authors, and this is a romance novel that's about this like DNA test that can match you with people in your romantic life. So basically you take a DNA test and then they give you a percentage of like how much you match with this person, and it's like incredibly rare to find someone that you match with over like an 80% or something. I thought the concept of this book was really fascinating. Like, I'm really into like the nerdy science aspect of it because I think that's a really cool subject matter for a book to be based on. But like, as far as the characters went and everything in this book, I just thought the characters were just so boring and bland and just one-dimensional and just kind of like stereotypical characters. I mean, one aspect I did enjoy about our main character is that she's a single mom, and you know, as I said, like I'm really intrigued by reading about parenthood, not just in like teenagehood as in Concrete Rose, but just like parenthood in general, and then like being a single mother, like, and all the struggles that come with being a single parent. So I was definitely interested in that aspect of the book, but like the love interest in this book could not be more like eye roll worthy. Oh my gosh, I just did not like him at all. So I ended up giving this one 2 stars. I'm so sorry, there's like a bird that's just like being so annoying somewhere right outside my window. The show must go on. The next book I read this month was Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. And this is a book that I went into kind of just expecting this fun female-female romance, but I feel like I ended up getting so much more from this book than I originally thought I would. Because in this book we're following this girl Grace who has recently gotten her PhD in astronomy, which like wow, that's fucking cool. I love astronomy. I love space related things. So I immediately felt connected to her character because of that. And at the very start of this book, like the prologue, we find out that she accidentally married this girl in Vegas who she doesn't know. And then this book is kind of about her not only dealing with that situation of like marrying this girl she doesn't know and wanting to get to know this girl, but also like just, it's kind of like a coming of age story for Grace and her trying to figure out, what do I want in life? She's always had this kind of hard relationship with her parents because they're very, very critical and like hard on her, and they want the best for her, which is why she's kind of gotten this PhD and like done all of the things. She's kind of coming to terms with the fact that she needs to take some time for herself and try to figure out who she is and what she really wants in life. And I just thought it was a really beautiful, well done story. I will say it took some time to get the ball rolling in this story. Like it took a good 50 to 70 pages before I really started to get invested. So for that reason alone, I had to give it 4 stars instead of 5 stars. But I thought this book was really well done. It was really beautifully written at parts, and the chemistry that she does have with this girl was just so cute. It was so like bantery and just like adorable. I love that most of it takes place in New York. The next book that I read this month is The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, and I actually ended up doing a reading vlog entirely just for this book, and it's like a non-spoilery reading vlog. So if you do want to hear all of my full insane crazy emotional thoughts on this, I will leave that link down below. I also had a really good cry over this book, and it's actually really embarrassing how much the end of this book made me sob, but it's all in that vlog if you want to see it. But this book was phenomenal. It was so freaking good. This book is the only historical fiction book that I read this month. It's Kristen Hanna, you know, she is the queen of historical fiction. She wrote some of my other favorite books like The Nightingale and The Great Alone, and this one takes place in like the 1930s era during the Great Depression and during the Dust Bowl in Texas in America. And this novel was so incredibly moving. We're just following this main character Elsa as she's dealing with all of these horrific life events like the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. And I found this book to be so informative and fascinating and just heart-wrenching. Like, I just felt so connected to these characters in this book, and the ending absolutely broke my heart. Like, it was so sad. And this whole book is just so sad, and this book really made me feel grateful for all that I have, and this is the kind of book that just really like humbles you, you know? And you know, like I said, if you want to see all of my thoughts, link will be down below for the reading vlog. I've like low-key been in a reading slump since I finished this because I have not been wanting to read anything since I finished this. And then the last book that I read this month was the buddy read for the book troupe, and it was The Wrong Family by Taryn Fisher. And this book was... I have mixed feelings about this book. I'm sure the live show will have happened by the time this goes up, so the live show link will be down below if you want to see me and Chanel talk about it in real time. Link will be down below. We're probably going to be roasting this book, I can only assume, because I think I'm going to give this book 2 stars because the beginning of it was so fucking boring and so slow. Like the first 100 pages, I was like bored out of my mind. I was like, how am I going to get through this, you know? But then we get to the end of part 1 and there's something that happens that I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I thought the next 100 pages were actually pretty decent. Like, I was kind of invested. I was like, where is this going? And then the ending happens, and it's the most shocking but also like dumb ending that I think I've ever seen in a book, maybe ever. It was just so out of left field and just like, wait, what? Like, you're kidding. And so I just have very mixed feelings about this book because I do feel like this story had potential. I enjoyed where it was going, and then I feel like it just completely derailed from where it was going, and I just have no fucking idea what that ending was. It was so crazy. So for that reason alone, I think I have to give it 2 stars because like I can't give it 1 star because it had me there. It had me in the first half, not gonna lie, you know the meme. But then like, oh god, by the ending I was just like, what even the fuck? So unfortunately, yeah, this one ended up being a 2 star. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in February. I will say I had a really great reading month despite how busy and difficult some things were this month. But by far my favorite of the month has got to be The Four Winds. Like, this is not a book that I'm going to forget about anytime soon, and like, who knows how long this book hangover is gonna last from this book because I can't seem to pick up anything else. That is all for the month of February. Let me know, how many books did you read in the month of February? What was the best book that you read this month? What was the worst book that you read this month? And if you've read any of these books that I read, please let me know your thoughts on them as well. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye!